Hello, everybody. This is Douglas Block. It's Friday. Arcade Cup says greetings. North Star says hi, Douglas. Greg Sandler says hi. Hey, it's a Friday. It's noon in Portland, Oregon, here in my office. And we're ready for our weekly, I should say tri-weekly chat, because it's happening every, it's happening every Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Come on, Doug. I was going to say Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but we do it on Sunday because a lot of people at home. Hi, Mike. Hi, Forever Free, KK. Hey, the old buddies are here. Anyway, again, for the next 60 minutes, 1 hour, I'm going to answer any of your questions. Hey, Leanne, man, all of our regular weekly people are here. Thank you very much. Hey, get good news. You see this background? It's a little bit distracting. I'm going to get a beautiful tapestry to put back there. So next time you see me, it'll be really, really pretty. And so we're trying to make the environment here as aesthetic as possible. You like the re-mentioned jingle in the opening. Thank you. That shows all my books, I think, when going through Hell Don't Stop and Healing from Depression. I Am With You Always. I'm starting a Patreon account pretty soon, and I'm going to be giving away my books, free ebooks, free print books, all sorts of little rewards and goodies for people who want to partner with me in getting the best possible mental health education out there to this world, because it's so needed. You know, if there's an old saying, if you lose your possessions, you've lost something. If you lose your health, you've lost a lot. But if you lose if you lose your peace of mind, you've lost everything. And that's what mental illness does. It robs people of their peace of mind. Without that, why go on? Could you please help? I had a bad day yesterday when I noticed my heart rate was high. It's usually low. It freaked me out. I spoke to my doctor today. She just said adrenaline. Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, it probably is. You should just monitor that. I mean, it could have been just anxiety. I'm not really quite sure what it was, but I would just, hey, Lame Aloha from Hawaii. So yeah, I would just continue to watch that and monitor that and try doing some deep breathing. The heart rate high was probably just anxiety. Coralie Hart, hey, Coralie, hi, can depression cause extreme fatigue? Of course, that's one of the 9 symptoms. I'm constantly fatigued to the point that if I get out of bed, I feel like I'm going to collapse. There's a phrase in a book that I read that I quote in my own memoir when going through Hell Don't Stop. One of the clients said to a therapist named Martha Manning, she said, filling the bowl with sugar feels like climbing Mount Everest, or filling the sugar bowl feels like climbing Mount Everest. Why do I have a hard time saying sugar bowl? Because I've given up sugar, right? I'm basically, let me see if we can get more of my hands. Someone said I should get my hand gestures. Hi, guys. More hand gestures, right? We like that. Yes, so, fatigue is one of the 9 symptoms of depression, major depression, and that's really a tough one. You just lose energy. You can't do anything. You're the energy crisis. So what you have to do is rest, try to eat as well as you can. And again, Coralie, are you taking any medications? What are you doing to treat the depression? Because fatigue and low energy is one of them. Again, please ask me any questions you want. I wanted to talk about a video that I just posted yesterday called Ask for What You Want and Not for What You Don't Want. This is really important because so many people, when they come to me and they basically have goals, they basically put them in the negative. Like they'll say, I am not depressed, or I don't want to be depressed. Well, the problem is that when you say I am not something, as I mentioned in the video I posted yesterday, The subconscious mind doesn't hear the word not, it hears depressed. Or so if you say I'm not sick, it hears sick. If you say I am not tired or I am not fatigued, it hears fatigue. So rather than say I am not fatigued or my goal is to, not have fatigue, the better thing would be to say my goal is to have abundant energy, lots of vitality. That's what you want to talk about. So Coralie, I hope you're able to get some treatment to help that. Time for a joke, maybe? You always like to do this. Let me see. I think I said this already. Why didn't the scarecrow eat dinner? He was stuffed. Oh, these puns. What did the engineer say to himself when he realized he was losing interest in his job? I've got to get back on track. Anybody have any other jokes? Please basically say them now, and that would be really, really cool. Oh my God, you hear that noise? My wife is making her normal greens drink. Oh well. So, do you get the idea? Coralie, I'm on 40 milligrams of, I think that's Lexapro. I saw my practitioner of ECT, but he said he can't refer me. It's not very common in Northern Ireland. Well, it should be more common in Northern Ireland. What's going on here? We need to get more treatment up to Northern Ireland because this is a very effective treatment. And the fact is you can't, get it is disturbing to me. I'm seeing my therapist on Tuesday and I'll ask him too. Yeah, if you think that you're a candidate for ECT, you should definitely ask your psychiatrist and make sure that you can find someplace because it's very effective for treatment-resistant depression. I went through it, my mother went through it, and I think it has a lot of benefits. So ask your psychiatrist. You can also email me, douglasblock@gmail.com, and I'll give you some feedback. But no, it's up to them. It's up to your doctor. I'm not here to prescribe, obviously. Northside, do you have advice on tips on healing attachment? I'm an avoidant attachment means I don't trust or tend to run from intimacy. It sucks. Well, that usually comes out of some sort of childhood trauma or abandonment early on. There's actually a disorder, a personality called avoidant disorder, which I'm not familiar with personality disorders, but you can just imagine people they usually avoid because they're afraid of getting hurt in some way. So, I would say that you might want to basically go and talk to your therapist and find out, what are the painful events in the past that have made relationships threatening, or you associate them with abandonment. So that's what I would do, and see if you can get to the root of it, and then maybe do some trauma work and release that. You might also just ask yourself, you might do a written exercise like say, I don't want to be intimate because, or when I think of relationships, I think of, and see what comes. That's free association. That's how Freud started the whole, thing of psychiatry. That's how it all started with him. Do you have any opinions on Scientology? Says Leanne. And there's a belief that there's no thing as chemical imbalance in the brain. I just watching the Tom. Well, they don't know what they're talking about. Obviously, no. Of course, there are chemical imbalances. One of my clients just had a psychotic breakdown and is paranoid and delusional. If that's not a chemical imbalance, Scientology is really bad news when it comes to disowning or trying to diss psychiatry. Just please don't listen to them. Hey, Coralie, I try 50% Coralie dark chocolate bar. When you're feeling this, it might help. Then again, it might do nothing. Yesterday, I lifted my spirits. I started laughing after being crashed down. Yeah, coffee could help if you have no energy. It's not the ultimate solution, but it could get you out of bed. But you know what? Again, I'm not recommending this. I'm not a psychiatrist, but a number of my clients, as an adjunct to depression, try something called Adderall. It's an AD. It's used for attention deficit disorder. It's a stimulant. It's a controlled substance in America. It comes with risks. But I just consulted a really good psychiatrist, and he said yes, he uses it for some of his clients, his patients, and 3 people in my Monday support group are taking it. So again, you need to get that through a doctor, and because it's something you don't want to get off the street, even though it may be there. But you may ask your doctor, your psychiatrist about Adderall. Again, it's up to you. I'm not prescribing, but this is something that I've just observed. I'm just passing on to you information that I've learned. Word they won't refer to ECT is it's not common in Northern Ireland. What do you advise me if that's going to be the case? Try seeing if you could do, hey, Carrie Canfield. Wow, Carrie, how are you doing in your classes? I was thinking of calling you and see if you wanted to come back to the Monday support group after your classes are over. Let me know. You know my email address. If they won't refer you to ECT Coralie Hart, then I would basically try something called TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. If you email me at douglasblock@gmail.com, I will basically send you a link to a video I've made. Tapestry sounds nice. Just wrote my affirmations down on my way back to work. Hope to tune in next live chat. Yeah, thank you so much. And definitely Forever Freak. Are you basically leaving us now, or are you going to say you're going to do this in the next one? How important do you think vitamin D is helping with depression, says Chris Burke? A low vitamin D deficiency or deficiency in vitamin D is definitely associated with depression and other problems, physical problems. You should look that up. Joel Fuhrman, who wrote a book called Eat to Live, you should definitely go to his website, JoelFuhrman. Check him out. He talks about vitamin D deficiencies on the mind and the emotions as well as the physical body. So you should go get it checked out. Get a vitamin D3 test. It's very simple, and see what your levels are, and then talk to your doctor. Usually anything below 30 means you're low. But again, talk to your doctor about this. Leanne says, the vitamins work to help with my energy levels. What vitamins do you take, Leanne? There's no substantial truth with Scientology. Yeah, that's true. Hey, Bishara Agzabad, hi, you might be from the Middle East. I agree with Tom Cruise only with putting his kids on meds. I do only putting his kids, is that what he did? I'm not quite sure what Tom Cruise did. Any suggestions for relieving the side effects of Prozac, like constipation, that will ease up over a period of time? Yeah, there's something called doxylene succinate. You just go to your drugstore or your Safeway or your Fred Meyer and just ask for a stool softener and take that once or twice a day. That will help. The other thing is drink a lot of water, Robert Lee, and once a day take something called psyllium powder. You can get it from any health food store. It's really cheap. You just mix it up in water and ground it. It's also called Metamucil. And of course, eat lots of fruits and vegetables because they have natural fiber. So Robert, increase your water intake, increase your fiber intake, and take a bowel softener or Metamucil, and you should be fine. Great jokes today. Thanks, Doug. Yeah, well, we're going to talk around 5 p.m. your time, 2 p.m. my time. Thanks, Mike. It's always glad to have you in these sessions. Okay, I don't think I missed anybody so far. Let me see. Yep. Hey, Evelyn May, what's going on with you in Hawaii? I bet the weather's a little warmer than it is in Portland, you would think. All right, I'm trying to get to the bottom here so I can see what's going on. At the very bottom of this chat thing, I can't point it out to you, but there's a little $sign. That's called Super Chat. That's a way for you to basically donate some money to the channel so I can keep doing these videos that I'm posting on a more frequent basis. They're very expensive to make. They take time, energy. I need to pay people to help, shoot them and edit them. And a couple of you guys have committed. You don't want to be committed. Well, you want to be committed to some things, but not to a hospital. Contributed $2, $5. I think Dorothy from the UK gave me £20. Thank you very much. But yeah, so I would encourage you to use that if if you feel moved to. Let me see. RTMS vitamins, vitamin infusion, energy metabolism support, says Leanne. Women's Daily. Oh, I see. Is that a supplement? Also, my wife, who's basically low on vitamin B12, get your vitamin B12 tested. The person said they have no energy because that could also be a problem. And you can get vitamin B12 shots. Definitely go to a medical. You might also have low thyroid. The person who had no energy, go to your medical doctor and get all this stuff checked out with them. Your vitamin D levels, your thyroid function. That causes depression and low energy. Vitamin B12 deficiency. Also check for your levels of iodine and zinc. These are two other elements or minerals that are needed for people with depression. So find a good medical doctor or an internist and get these things checked out because there might be an organic cause to your fatigue and not just a depression. 12:16 p.m. My time. I guess it's 7:16 p.m. UK time, 3:16 East Coast time. Leanne says, hey, Lindy, how's it going? It's going well. Coralie Hart, the RTMS is only available in one clinic in London. It's too expensive. We went over this last time. I have no other option than to give up. I don't leave bed anymore. I haven't working for you. Suicide thoughts are daily. I'm really sorry to hear that. I can't believe there's only one RTMS place in London. I mean, doesn't your insurance cover it? Carly, please don't give up. We all need each other. I too struggle with suicidal thoughts. Thank you, Carrie. Why don't you write me, Corley, and maybe we can work some things out, and I can maybe call some friends of mine over in UK and see what other help there might be. Corley says, thanks, Carrie. Yeah, that's great. So I don't have my little sign with me, but I think I can at least type my email address here, DOUGLASBLOCH @gmail. Did very well in math, but not so good in typing. So let's go ahead and click this, and now you can see my. Okay. All right. So DouglasBach@gmail.com. Go ahead, Corley Hart, and email me, and we can continue this conversation. Leanne says, yes, I also have thyroid problems. It can cause a lot of problems if it's not treated. So yes, I would say, Corley, all of you who are suffering from treatment-resistant depression, Evelyn May says it's very humid, and we're hoping our tradesmen will be back. To Corley, I go through that fatigue too. So Corley, Evelyn, everybody out there who's dealing with fatigue, please get your thyroid checked out by a competent medical doctor or internist and see if low thyroid might be the problem. There's a very well-known author named Mary Ellen Copeland who's written a lot of books on depression and workbooks on bipolar recovery. She dealt with depression for years until she found out she had low thyroid, and that did the trick. So please make sure there's not a... Carly, yes, definitely email me. I look forward to hearing from you, really. Unfortunately, I'm leaving now. I will listen later on. Plan to soon make some sort of donation. Thank you, Forever Free. Can you just tell me one more thing? Which country you're on, UK or America, and where in America are you? I always like to know where people are, are basically calling from or chatting from. That's very helpful. So yeah. So getting back to my original topic about how important it is to state things in terms of what you want and not what you don't want. So I don't want to be anxious. So the way to basically change this is to take any negative statement you might be thinking or feeling and put it in the positive, declarative way. So I don't want to be anxious would be I am peaceful and calm, or I am calm and peaceful, or I am calm and serene. Just listen to that. Feel that in your body and see how much better you feel in your body when you say I am calm and serene and not I am anxious, or I don't want to be anxious. So, and then in the video, I recommend that you keep a journal. You write stuff down. Like every time you say something like I don't want to be anxious, you write in this place on the other side of the column, the other side of the piece of paper, I'm peaceful and serene, and keep reframing or restating any goal or request that you state in the negative and change it to the positive. And then after a week, look at all the corrections you've made. It's kind of like cognitive behavioral therapy, and see what happens, see how you feel. Thank you, Douglas, for being always there with us. You're truly here on Beacon of Hope, so many of us. Thank you. So, Carrie, do you think we'll be able to see you in one of our groups soon, or are you basically still doing your night classes? But no, I really appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much. Let me see if I can find another joke. But, one thing I would like to show you. A little commercial advertisement. So, those of you who have not seen this is my book, Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood. This was written with blood, sweat, and tears when I came out of my depression episode in 96, 97. I decided to write down everything I learned and put it in this book. My heart went into it. It's a lot of people have said it's a lifeline for healing. By the way, remember I said the subconscious mind does not hear the word not. So if I say this has been around for a while, don't think of pink elephants. Don't think of pink elephants. Suddenly, pink elephants you can't get rid of them, right? Like this guy, he came to me just the other day. I couldn't get him out of my mind. I was just obsessing about pink elephants for hours, days at a time, until I basically, hypnotized myself out of it. I'm exaggerating, of course, but yes, you're from the Middle East. Well, do you have any questions, Bisharo? I think that's how you pronounce your name. And what part of the Middle East are you? Are you in Yemen or, Saudi Arabia? It would be nice to know what part of the world you're in. That would be cool. So X Reed says, Cheryl, hi, and nice to see you. I love people from all over the planet. This is a global ministry. Do I use that word? I don't use that word lightly, but it is kind of a ministry in terms of I'm trying to minister to and reach out to everyone. 1 out of 2 Americans over the course of a lifetime has a mental health disorder. That's half of America. That's like 175 million people. So mental health issues, mental illness is a widespread problem. But in the immortal words of Rodney Dangerfield, who was a very famous comedian in my day, I don't get no respect. I don't get no respect. That was his, his famous quote. Well, mental illness doesn't get no respect because there's a stigma. People don't want to talk about it. I mean, I have a video coming up on Monday that says, this is the title. It's kind of controversial. Would you rather have cancer or be depressed? Think about it. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here, says Chris House. I haven't heard you before. Doug, do you have any advice for taking action? I waste a lot of time online. I'm not responsible and spend the day in bed. Well, Greg, what's going on? Why are you spending the day in bed? I think it's because you suffer from depression. Work with your therapist and write out one constructive thing you can do in a given day. Make it really simple. Like today, I will go to the gym for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Or today, I will go to the grocery store and try to, from Northern Europe, try to basically do something that's very tiny and get yourself, started on doing something constructive. And if you can't get motivated, have someone call you or have someone come with you. Evan May says, I have Sjogren's syndrome, autoimmune disorder. Currently, you can email me too. Carrie Canfield says, DGBZ. I have no idea what that means. You'll have to spell it out, Carrie. Evelyn, what are you doing for the autoimmune disorder? Those are really hard to treat. There's probably stuff online. We have a couple of people in my groups who have Crohn's disease, CHRONS, which is like irritable bowel syndrome. That's an autoimmune disease, and they treat it with diet and relaxation. So there must be some ways you can support the body and support the immune system when you have an autoimmune illness or disease. So, again, getting back to this whole day of the stigma of mental illness in my upcoming video, which is going to post in 2 days on Monday. Would you rather have mental illness or would you rather be depressed or have cancer? Well, cancer is a horrible illness. I mean, people die from it. So would you rather be depressed and have cancer? Well, I'm not quite sure because there was a gal in our Tuesday group who had been struggling with with depression and also suicidal thoughts for years. She worked in the Red Cross and she was afraid to mention it to anybody. She was afraid everybody would run away. She said she was suicidal. One day she came to a group and said, she was really upbeat and cheerful. Something had changed in the last 7 days. And people said, Robin, what's going on? Well, did your Prozac kick into action? Did you inherit $1 million? She said, no, I have cancer. People said, no, we thought you were kind of nuts before. No, you're really nuts. No, she said, you don't understand. I have this mild form of cancer. It's in stage 1. It's treatable. But when I told my colleagues at the hospital, they all gave me hugs and brought in balloons and cakes. And I just felt so loved. And I felt like an outcast because I had depression. But now that I have cancer, I'm really accepted and loved by people. Isn't that horrible that, a person has to feel that in order to get accepted and loved, they have to have cancer because depression is, and suicidal thinking is so taboo. So what are we going to do about that? Chris House says, I watch your videos. I've been subscribed for several months. Found you through Big No No channel. I haven't been able to catch a live chat until today. Well, Chris, I'm so glad you're here. You've been watching my videos. Ask me a question, on any of the videos that you've seen. Anything pop up that you want to talk about or ask about? I'd love to hear from you, really. It feels good as collective community, says BX Reed. Are you talking about the live chats? Because that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I run these depression support groups, is to create community. And, that's what it's all about. Welcome, Chris, says Cade. Chris says, thank you. I'm going to control the lightness on my screen. My battery's running a little low. Let me see what I can do here. Is this what I do? Oh, yeah. Great. That doesn't affect you, does it? No, you can see me just as well. Although it just definitely controls the brightness on the screen. Michael Hobson. Oh, my goodness. One of my favorite email people. Any advice or suggestions for assistance to help pay for therapy? Are there state or federal programs to help? I do not currently have health insurance. So where do you live, Michael? Let me jot down your question for later use here. But yeah, I would say that what you can find in Portland, we have something called Good Samaritan Ministries. It's a faith-based ministry that charges you nothing to go see them. And there's also a number of clinics. There's William Temple House. $10 a session. Jewish Family Child Services, $15 a session. Um, you know, you can basically hopefully find in your area similar low-cost clinics. There's something called Old Town Recovery Center, which is for people struggling with homelessness and addiction, and they basically go ahead and will see you for free if you qualify with not enough income. Depends on how much income you have. I take it you probably don't have a lot. So there are places around that will treat people who are low income for a nominal price or even for free. So Michael, I don't know what city you live in, but you should go look at that. Evelyn May says, diet, vitamins, and exercise, but hard to do when you feel so sore and tired to move. I try to force myself the best I can. My diet is not great. It's supposed to increase the protein. Are you going to see a naturopath or someone who specializes in the treatment of this autoimmune disorder? Sometimes doctors don't really know what to do. Maybe there's some drugs. Do you have your ups and downs? Oh my goodness. I keep a list. I keep a record. I keep a journal. I've been doing this since 96, 97 when I had a really bad break on how I'm feeling in terms of a 1 to 10 scale, where 5 is neutral, 1 is suicidally depressed, and 10 is either enlightened or severely manic. And I think if you're at 10, you're going to be more manic than enlightened. And I vacillate between about a 4 and a 6. Sometimes get as low as 3.5, but it doesn't last for long. I got to get a sip of water, guys. So yes, G-bits, D-G-bits. You know, when you have chronic depression and dysthymia, as I've had for 50 years, it just doesn't go away. It's always in the background, but you can manage it. That's the key. Management, not cure. You can get cured of the chickenpox, right? You can always do that. But depression, because once you have the chickenpox as a child, your body develops an immunity to the disease. Well, when it comes to depression, that's not going to work, because like addiction, once you've had it at least twice, and especially if it runs in your family, the vulnerability is always there, and all it takes is some stress. Breakup of a relationship, number one cause of depression in my book, or a financial setback or a health challenge, and you can dip and go back into the dark house. So yes, I have my ups and downs. A third time skipping my question. Did I skip your questions, G-Bits? I'm sorry. What did I skip? Tell me. Let me see if I can go further up, find you. If you read over my questions twice, not sure what your screen looks like on your end. I can see all the questions there. So I'm sorry if I basically skipped over them. Oh, message retracted, it says. Well, that's why maybe you couldn't see it. It looks like the message was retracted, so that's why I didn't answer. I didn't see it. When I'm in a dip, I feel like everyone hates me and no one wants to interact with me. I look horrible and unattractive, of course. In an uplifted mood, everything gels, and I have a feeling of grandiosity. Well, maybe you have bipolar disorder. I like what you said about journaling moods. I need to log my hell days to flying days to plot the frequency of mood swings. Absolutely. If you have mood swings, you need to keep track of them and show them to your doctor, because that's how you're going to track to see how well. Are you on a mood stabilizer, I hope? That's how you're going to track to see, what's going on and how it's working. Arcade Cup. Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Cheryl Lancaster. Chivas has been asking a question about a partner that has depression. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for repeating that. I really apologize. These questions are coming every 15 seconds. So I did a video called When Someone You Love is Depressed, and also best things to say to a depressed person. So if you email me, douglasblog@gmail.com, I will send you those 2 videos. But basically, what you need to do if you have a partner that's depressed is 2 things. 1, you have to tell them, I love you, I'll be here for you, and you are basically, okay. And you are whole and complete and perfect. You are not your depression, and I am here for you, and I will be here for you forever and stand with you while you're going through this ordeal. The second thing you need to do is to encourage them to get into treatment. Encourage them to find a counselor, a psychiatrist, a nurse practitioner, because depression is treatable, but over half the people who have depression in America don't seek treatment. And, that is obviously not going to help you get better. Let me just check the time out here. Yeah, we got another 27 minutes left. So if you have a partner who's depressed, Tell them that you're there for them. Say things like, I know you're in pain, I empathize. Try not to give advice, and definitely tell them to seek out professional help. And if they need help from you in terms of the daily attack, what do they call them? The tasks of daily living, right? If they need you to basically go shopping for them or maybe cook for them or help clean, that's also very helpful. Chris House is currently recovering from postnatal anxiety and panic attacks. Fortunately, with my therapist, psychiatrist, family friends, I'm doing much better. When you say postnatal, do you mean postpartum depression? Because I'm going to do a video on that. So how about clarifying? Thank you, Cheryl. Again, DG Bits, I apologize. I don't know how I missed that. Did that answer your question? Again, if you go to my YouTube channel, which you're probably on, and type in "when someone you love is depressed" or "best things to say to a depressed person," those videos will come up, and I give extensive information about what to do when you have a partner who's depressed. And that, of course, is quite frequent, and a lot of people, ask me about that all the time. All right, so getting back to the stigma of depression, and that is that there's something about mental illness. You know that in Nigeria, they think that the populace thinks that one third of them think that the cause of depression is possession by a demon. And people are thinking this in the 21st century. I'm not putting down Nigeria, believe me, but this is what they thought in the Middle Ages. They used to throw people depressed in cold water to try to drive the demons out of them. It's not demons. It's a brain disorder. It's a brain disease. It's like addiction. Just like Alzheimer's. That's I won't say that's all it is, because the brain is your command and control center. When that goes down, everything goes down. Remember what I said at the beginning of this chat? If you lost your peace of mind, you've lost everything. That's why people with heart disease don't get suicidal, but people with depression do. Every 12 minutes, someone in America, takes their own life. Now that is something that we need to stop and arrest. Number 10 cause of death in America is suicide. Not so much the depression aspect, but had constant anxiety and a few panic attacks a day. Well, some people, when they give birth, and I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, can have anxiety and not depression. It definitely can mess with your brain chemistry because of all the hormonal changes you're going through when you're pregnant. So I'm glad that you found a therapist and psychiatrist and family and friends. That's what it takes. I say in my book, When Going Through Hell Don't Stop, it takes a village to see somebody through a dark night of the soul. You've heard the term, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to see somebody through a dark night of the soul. So you got to get support. No one gets better without support. And the second week of my depression recovery channel is reach out for support. Reach out, like I'm doing to the screen right here, right? You definitely want to ask for assistance, because depression is too intense and too difficult for anybody to get over by themselves. Again, I want to do a quick advertisement for Healing from Depression, my book, my website, healingfromdepression.com. I also do mental health coaching. A couple of people who actually participated in the live chat today and also 2 days ago on Wednesday are clients of mine. And the fee is very reasonable, and it's a 12-week program based on each of the 12 weeks of my Better Mood Recovery program in my book, Healing from Depression. Chris says, yes, I agree. I'm not quite sure what you agree with, but I must have said something about anxiety, about probably the hormonal changes in chemistry kind of, messed up your brain chemistry. We are streaming, obviously. We've gone 34 minutes so far. And those of you who are watching, thank you so much. I know it's a Friday, but I'm glad you're here. And Douglas, how long should bupropion, that's Wellbutrin, 150 milligrams, XL, take to keep in? Will it help me with productivity, you think? Definitely will. When you feel less depressed, you feel more productive. Yes, with the village comment, yes, it does take a whole village to see someone through the dark night of the soul. Wellbutrin, like any antidepressant, takes time to kick in. Usually, they say 4 to 6 weeks, although some people have gotten better a lot sooner. Who prescribed this to you, Greg? Was it your primary care physician, who probably doesn't know a whole lot about drugs, or was it your nurse practitioner or your psychiatrist? You should tell them, or look up on the internet. Go to the website of the company who makes Wellbutrin. They'll probably tell you how long it takes, but usually it's a couple of weeks, sometimes longer. So be patient. You might want to get raised to 300. That's usually a more therapeutic dose. Don't listen to me. You know, I'm not prescribing, but basically talk to your doctor or your mental health prescriber, because usually people start at 150 and they go up to 300. So see what they say back to you. But it's a very good medication. I'm on it. It helps me, and I think you should definitely give it a chance. Do you have any side effects, Greg? For some people, it says it agitates them, but I would basically say, you know, if you're not having that symptom, you should stick with it. It's only going to help you and not hurt you. BX Reed says thank you too. Yes, and you like the laugh out loud. I wasn't saying that to be funny. I mean, it does take a whole village to get people out of a dark night of the soul. In my book, my memoir, When Going Through Hell Don't Stop, I list all the people who helped me out, and there were a ton of them. So, yeah, it's really, really important that as many people chip in as possible for this. So, getting back to the stigma of mental illness, 1 out of every 2 Americans has it during the course of their lifetime, 1 out of every 5 in any given year, and yet you talk about it in the workplace and you might lose your job. Whereas if you say, like my friend, I have cancer, so what's the difference, you know? When someone says snap out of it if you're depressed, do you tell a cancer person to snap out of their tumor? That's cells that are growing, you know, unrestrained. That's what cancer is, right? I mean, that's a biological malfunction in the DNA or in your system. Well, depression is a biological malfunction in the brain. So how are you going to change your brain by snapping your fingers like that? You're not going to get your tumor away. You're certainly not going to change your brain. So it's really unfair that people think that depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia are, you know, are weaknesses or moral defects, and people have some conscious control of them. Did my calculations fail, says KKA, aka. I'm not quite sure what your calculations were. Greg Sandler was my primary doctor. It's my 3rd day on it. I'll stick with it. I'm just curious to see how I feel. Well, you're only on it for 3 days. Keep a mood journal. Every day that you're on Wellbutrin, write down how the day has been and if you notice anything that you're feeling. And just keep track of it. After 2 weeks or 3 weeks, if you don't feel any improvement, talk to your primary care doctor about going up to the next level of 300. Again, I'm not prescribing, I'm educating, but I've been doing this for 17 years, working with people. I've been working on my mental health for half a century, so I've learned a thing or two. It sounds like a farmer's, right? We've learned a thing or two because we know a thing or two. That's a farmer's commercial. I used to get really sick of it when I was watching the Olympics. In real life, depression is still a taboo, says BX Reed. Yes, it is. That's the whole point I'm making. So what are we going to do? You know, we got to say it loud, I'm depressed and I'm proud. We have to get up and we have to basically state our condition without fear, knowing it's not who we are, and not being afraid that people will judge you or think there's something defective or wrong with you. King Tito 3710, you just basically came on board. Hey, I have some questions. I need some clarity. I had a panic while smoking once, and I'm dealing with anxiety, personal depression. Lately, I've been feeling foggy and dizzy. King Tito, did you mean you had a panic attack while smoking? Are you saying? I think you're saying smoking marijuana as opposed to smoking a cigarette, because marijuana can send people and launch people into anxiety. A lot of people, it gets them paranoid. So it's not as benign as, you know, we in the 60s made it out, right? When I was going to school in the 1960s, I mean, what did Robin Williams say? If you remember the 60s, you weren't there. I mean, there were a lot of people, you know, on a lot of drugs. And marijuana is, you don't die from overdoses of marijuana. You don't get in cars and run over children because you're drunk. You don't beat your spouse. So it's not harmful in that way, but it can mess with your brain chemistry. And I've, you know, one woman was doing it every day for a year, and then one day she felt that or believed that her neighbor was L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard is the founder of Scientology, for those of us who were talking about it. He's been dead for years, decades. So if you think that your neighbor is L. Ron Hubbard, you're psychotic, and that's exactly what the marijuana did. Yes, marijuana. Well, you should probably avoid it, you know, in the future. And drink a lot of water, do a lot of exercise, say a lot of prayers, and hopefully your body will come back to normal. Greg Sandler says, Doug, what are some jobs I can get in the mental health field without schooling? That's a good question. You can go get a job like in a residential treatment center, like a residential home for the mentally ill, and sometimes you can maybe work there as an orderly or maybe in a hospital. I think there were some jobs where VA is sufficient, but you got to check it out. I hope you have your bachelor's degree, because if you don't, it's going to be a lot more difficult. You could volunteer on a suicide hotline. That's a heavy job, but not for everybody. But they need volunteers, volunteer on the Multnomah County crisis line is important. You need a master's degree. Okay, forget about that. But maybe some volunteer work at some places that serve people with mental health disorders. A lot of homeless shelters. A lot of people who are homeless are mentally ill or mental illness. By the way, I don't like the term mentally ill. I have a mental illness. For example, if you were recovering from depression, you went on a date, you wouldn't say on the first date, hello, my name is John and I'm mentally ill. Oh my God, the person would run the other way, right? You might say, I suffer from depression. That's a lot less stigmatizing than I am mentally ill, because anything you put after the words I am, basically what it does is it defines who you are, your essence. So watch what you put after the words I am. If you say I am bad, it sticks much more powerfully than if you say I've done a bad thing. I am bad means I'm in essence bad. I'm a sinner. Do not talk to yourself like this. When if you just look at the biblical testimony of the book of Genesis, when God created mankind, the first thing he did is gave him the power to name things. Giving things names is very, very potent. And if you give yourself a name like mentally ill or bad or a loser, these things are highly destructive. Arcade Cut says, been drug free since 2002. But yes, I lock myself in the closets from it. I constantly peer out of the blinds or think every day every car driving behind me was a cop. Well, hopefully now that you've been drug free for 15 years, hopefully that's gone away, and you're losing those thoughts. Can I take away more about my diet? You've constantly mentioned flax seeds a few times before. Well, one of the secrets to brain health is something called omega-3 fatty acids. All the nerves in your brain are covered with something called a myelin sheath. It helps the conductivity, also protects them from wear and tear. And this myelin sheath is 100% fat. So anybody who tells yourself to avoid fat in your diet is wrong. In the 1980s in America, we had something called the fat-free craze. Because fat was associated with heart disease, a lot of people started telling people never to eat fat, and instead they ate carbs and sugar instead. Look what happened. Obesity went up, diabetes went up. So the key is to eat the right kind of fats, healthy fats, like flax seeds, like chia seeds, like hemp seeds, and sesame seeds. These have good fat. Walnuts, like all nuts, have fat, but they have a high concentration of omega-3 fatty acids. If you look at half of a walnut, it looks like a brain, like a hemisphere of a brain. That should give you a clue that it's good for your brain. So walnuts, flax seeds, and also fish. I know the seas have been the seas have been overfished, and there's a lot of mercury in the water. So you want to eat low down on the feeding chain. So I eat sardines because they're mostly mercury free. Whoopsie daisy. Well, my phone is ringing. Isn't that funny? Thank you for putting up with that. I put it on silent and do not disturb. The key is to basically put it on airport. So much for my silent and do not disturb. By the way, if any of you recognize that tune, that was Shakira. Shakira did this song called "Hips Don't Lie," and it was very popular. And believe it or not, even though I'm kind of an egghead intellectual, I really enjoy that song. I have it as my ringtone, and when I go up a really steep hill, and I have to get some inspiration to hang in there and keep breathing, I play that song. So a little bit of comic relief. I'm sorry about that. Can you take a little bit more about your diet? Yeah, so Seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, fish, and then mostly fruits and vegetables. I limit sweets, tremendously limits, no processed foods. Michael Pollan, who wrote the best book on nutrition called In Defense of Food, he says three sentences. This is all you have to know about diet. Okay, so everybody, as my gym teacher would say, listen up, guys. Isn't that funny? Listen up, guys. It's all coming back to me. Okay, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. 7 words. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. So that's it. So plant-based diet, you've heard that term thrown around. Well, it's true. So when you go to the store and you get a box of Cheetos, right? Cheetos, these cheese crackers, that's not food. That's a food-like substance that's been processed or manufactured. Cheetos do not grow in the ground. Potatoes do, right? Potato chips do not grow in the ground. Potatoes do. Kale chips do not grow in the ground. Kale does. Go to the outer section of the grocery store and look where all the fruits and vegetables are. That's where you should spend 90% of your time, in the grocery store. That's my diet. Arcade Cup, street drugs, just saying pot made me super paranoid at times. Of course, I mentioned that. That's one thing that Pat does. I mean, even back in the day when marijuana was mostly pure and wasn't laced with anything, people still got paranoid when they, a friend of mine has always gotten paranoid when she smoked pot. That's why she doesn't do it. So yeah, if you have a mental health condition, I would say avoid all psychoactive drugs just to protect yourself. Any advice for making first steps and decisions? I seem to be pretty stuck with work, social, everything really. Well, hey, 3 Brent, nice to see you again. Start with something small. Start with a decision that doesn't really have a huge downside, and get the confidence to make that. And you can also tell yourself, you can basically say, what's the worst that can happen? When people say that and they see the worst could happen, they say, well, I guess I could handle that. And that's what you tell yourself when you're afraid of making a decision. When there'll be a mistake, you say, I can handle whatever comes my way. If you don't make decisions because you're lethargic and depressed, then you need to treat that and try to get your motivational energy up and your juices up through exercise, which is the nature's antidepressant. Take a brisk walk. You feel a lot better. Or better yet, run for a mile or get on your bicycle. The more oxygen you get to your brain, the more endorphins are released by exercise, the better you'll feel. I hope that helps out 3 Bren. King Tito 3710 says, hey Doug, is there any way to recover from depersonalization, derealization, anxiety, depression in a year or less? Definitely yes with anxiety and depression, for sure. My episodes have lasted 9 months. Now, I need to do a video and research. I know that Noah on Big No No, a good friend of mine who's got a great channel, he talks about that a lot because he experiences it. I guess when you're depersonalized, you're kind of standing back, looking at yourself. Everything seems like you're in a dream, and you're not even in your body. You're watching your body. So that sometimes happens when you take LSD or a psychoactive drug. But I guess your brain can do the same thing on its own. And because I haven't had any experience in everything that I teach and write about on this channel, on my website, Healing from Depression, in my newsletters, with my groups, with my coaching clients, everything I've talked about, everything I can help people with, I can because I've gone through it. I've personally gone through it. So I would consider myself like a wounded healer. I'm not a therapist. I'm not even a coach. I'm just someone who's gone through hell, come out the other side, and is trying to share what worked for me. So in terms of depersonalization, derealization, unfortunately, I don't have the experience, but I do have with depression and anxiety, and definitely less than a year. And so I would talk to people. Maybe there's some chat groups, King Tito, that you can find other people who have DP or DR and ask them their experience. I don't have, go vegan, says Greg Sandler. Yeah, well, except for the fish I am. Greg, why do you think vegan is good, aside from the fact it doesn't harm animals and vegans have been shown to live longer than any other diet in America? If you go look at the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California, and look at those studies, they live longer than anyone else in the United States. And I saw a movie about this, and it was called In Defense of Food, based on the book by Michael Pollan. And these people, amazing. They were 97, 100. They were up and around, walking up and down the retirement centers. These were vegan Seventh-day Adventists. So yeah, I think it's a great choice. Plants equals good. I eat like a teenager way too often. I take it Arcade Cup when you say I eat like a teenager, you mean you're basically eating junk food, like Hostess Twinkies if they still exist, or Ring Dings and This is East Coast stuff. I grew up on the East Coast, so we had ring dings, Hostess Twinkies, Drake's cakes. Of course, there was Three Musketeers, Milky Way, Snickers. You remember the joke I told? I'm going to tell it again, I'm afraid. Every time I try to get healthy, we've been talking about a good diet. So every time I try to get healthy and go on a good diet, a candy bar looks at me and snickers. Oh my God, I said it again. When I did it on my video, I had a Snickers bar in my hand and I threw it at the cameraman because it was so disgusting in terms of all the fat and sugar it had. Nice ringtone, Cade. Yes, well, I like Shakira. What can I tell you? Thanks, Don. You've given me a sense of hope. You're a good man. You said God man. Hey, I've always wanted to be God. I have delusions of grandeur. You know, I've had my bipolar episodes. I'm bipolar too, but yes. Thank you, King Tito. Just, someone actually wrote me a letter and said, I bow down to you. Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. No, you don't need to bow down to me, or you don't need to bow down to a priest or a rabbi or even the Buddha. You need to bow down to yourself because you are, spirit. You are a child of God. You are in charge of your own recovery. So you are the person you should bow down to and love. Because, it says, love your neighbor as yourself. In the New Testament, Jesus says that. Well, it all starts with loving yourself. How can you love anybody else if you think you're crap? You have nothing to give. So, yes, I'm a good man. If you want to call me a God man, fine. I won't. I love it. Typos, oh my God. Someone should do a whole book on autocorrect. I have a long joke I probably need to tell. Don't have enough time to tell now. I need to get it. It's about someone who was, telling his neighbor a confession. And he was saying, I'm sharing your Wi-Fi, and I'm sorry, I'll pay you for it. And what came out is, I'm sharing your wife instead of Wi-Fi. And the joke, of course, the neighbor, gets insulted and righteous and goes ahead and, harms his neighbor who was sharing his wife, but he was really sharing his Wi-Fi. Anyway, so much for, autocorrects and Siri. Anyway, King Tito, you need to feel hope because there's only one constant in the universe, and that is this too shall pass. Nothing stays the same forever in life. All conditions are impermanent. That's a bad thing and a good thing. That means you're having a happy time. You're on your honeymoon. You feel like $1 million. You're in love. Well, guess what? That's temporary. But it also means like when you're suicidally depressed and you don't think this is going to get better and it's going to last forever. It's only temporary. That's the mistake that people make when they try to harm themselves. They think it's always going to be that way because it is that way now. And what we know, the only thing constant in the universe is change. KKAKA, my little town that I live in, you go eat outside your home to get a public place. You can only eat junk food. There's no place you can get healthy food, real food. I buy all my food from a store. Well, KKA, excellent idea. Grocery stores do have vegetables. They do have fruits. They do have grains. They do have nuts. They do have seeds. They may not be organic, but rather eat an inorganic piece of broccoli than an organic candy bar. So I'm sorry, you must live in a small town. Why do you tell the city planners to get a Whole Foods in there? Yeah, right. I don't think there's enough people in there to support a Whole Foods. So we have 5 minutes left. I do want to wrap it up again. It says that if anybody wants to donate using Super Chat, that would be great. My book is called Healing from Depression, which is probably gone by now. Oh, here it is. And it's really, a resource. And if you're seeing too many of this guy, too many pink elephants, well, it means you're probably telling yourself, don't think of pink elephants. Or if you're not saying that to yourself, then you may want to up your antipsychotic. Bad joke. We should not make fun of people who have a mental health illness. It's really serious and it's really cruel. Depression is a cruel disease. Schizophrenia is a cruel disease. People who are schizophrenic, oftentimes they live in group homes the rest of their life. There was one guy who came to my group. He was 43. He was living with his parents. The drugs did not work, and his parents were in their 70s. And they said to me, "When we die, what's going to happen to Charlie? Who's going to take care of him?" I mean, who's going to provide for him because he's disabled because of this cruel illness? So, there are people who are paralyzed in car accidents, either paraplegics or quadriplegics. And you read these stories that they are in a wheelchair, but they take a paintbrush and they put it in their mouth and they paint pictures, and they have a life, even if they can't use their legs and arms. God forbid. That would be a nightmare for me and for any of you. It's a horrible thing, but people seem to cope because they're resilient. But when you've lost your mind, when you think that everybody's out to get you, when you think that water or food is poison, like my client, when you think that Martians are talking to you, or the FBI is investigating you, or people are out to get you, you can't live a life. You could be healthy, you could be strong, you could be physically able, but if your mind is diluted, then what's going to happen? So mental health issues, mental health diseases, mental health disorders are very cruel, and they can rob a person of life. But even with schizophrenia, you know, there are new medications out. Zyprexa has been around for a while, but it's an excellent antipsychotic. And if you've seen the movie A Beautiful Mind about John Nash, starring Russell Crowe, that won all these Academy Awards, and Ronnie Howard directed it, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor. This guy, a brilliant mathematician named John Nash, he had a schizophrenic break at 29. And he spent the next 24 years basically disabled. He couldn't work. And fortunately, his colleagues at Princeton University took pity on him and let him hang out literally at Princeton. So be kind of like a homeless person there. And then when he was, I think, in his early 50s or maybe late 40s, he came out of the schizophrenia. He just organically burned out. And then he got the Nobel Prize for economics for something he had written when he was in college. So even someone with disabling schizophrenia can heal. So never, never, never give up. Arcade Cup says, thanks for your insight today. It all helps. Well, Arcade Cup, we're coming back online on Sunday at noon my time, Pacific Coast time. It'll be Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to do a whole piece on seasonal affective disorder then. And then on Monday, there's a new video posting, and on Wednesday, another live stream. And I'm hoping to post a video on Tuesday or Saturday about the idea of following your bliss and passion, how finding your passion and finding something you're really into can help diminish the symptoms of depression. KAAK, great stream video. I missed the majority of it. Next time I'll get it on earlier. And by the way, this will be posted in about 20 minutes, so you can look at the whole thing from the beginning. And KKA, AKA, where are you from? You don't have to divulge your identity, but I always like to know what cities people are calling from, or what parts of the country, or what parts of the world. You can tell me the little town you live in. I'd be curious. Is it like, Grand Forks something or other? I don't know. There's a town called Grand Forks somewhere. But yeah, there are small towns all over America. Sinclair Lewis, the great writer, said that small towns are the eyesore of America. Well, he was a city guy, so what did he know? So there's a lot of nice things that happen in small towns, I'm sure. So, any final questions or thoughts before I get out and get up and stretch and take a little walk outside? I don't know if I'm going to cycle, but it is. It's kind of 49, 50. Hey, not like Madison, Wisconsin, where it was. You're from southern Finland. Wow, Kalanti. Wow, how many people in your town, KKA? And I didn't know people in Finland can choose. And yeah, I guess the internet is global. Actually, somebody emailed me from Finland. Isn't that interesting? Finland is pretty cool. It has a democracy. I think there's a lot of women in the parliament. I think it's pretty democratic and pretty gender, friendly in terms of women being treated, if not as equally as men, as pretty well. I think it's a good role model. I do think there are a lot of women in politics. Am I correct? In Finland, I think it's a good place in that regard. And Scandinavians are usually socially progressive, although I bet a lot of you have SAD. I know there's a lot of alcoholism in Sweden and Alaska. Why? Because you don't get enough light. My old gym teacher, who didn't speak very good English, when he was coaching my friend in high jump, he said, you got to get the height. You got to get the height. So I guess you got to get the light also, right? The light. 5,000 or smaller. Yes, you are correct. About what? About the women in government in Finland. That's a lovely thing. So we'll talk about light therapy on my chat on Sunday when we go into standard time and it gets dark at 5 p.m. Yuck! Oh my God! This who can handle that? So there we have it. Any words of final words I have, and the final words I will use are the words of the Dalai Lama. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up. You never know what the next day will bring. I remember when I told my therapist I was suicidal, there was no hope. She says, you're not God. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. You never know. One day you could wake up and the whole world could change. Isn't that what happened to Bill Murray in Groundhog Day? One day he woke up and it was February 3rd. And that's what can happen to each of us. Women in government, final question. Can I see the live stream schedule somewhere? Yes, I have it posted on my video that came out on Monday. It's called "Does Exercise Really Heal Anxiety?" Go to that video. It's the second to last video I posted, and it gives you in print the live stream schedule, which is Wednesdays at noon, Wednesdays at 11, Fridays at noon, and Sundays at noon, all Pacific Coast time. But if you go to the video called "Does Exercise Really Heal Anxiety?" It was posted on this past Monday. I think that was October 30th. At the very beginning of that video, there's an announcement on screen that will give you the post. Hi, Joan. Nice to see you. I guess that's the clue that we should basically call it a day. Hey, Edna Fertier says, hi, Douglas. Great videos. You found freedom to say what you like. If you were a psychiatrist, could you be doing these videos? I'm sure that, oh, are you kidding me? I know a number of psychiatrists that have YouTube channels and talk about things like ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. Johns Hopkins University, go check them out. They have their own psychiatry channel. So yeah, have a good day. I'm off to bed. I guess it's, what is it? In Finland, is it 9 hours ahead? So it must be 10:03. Okay, guys, again, remember what the Dalai Lama said, never give up, never give up, never give up. And by the way, when I go offline, the chat stream continues for 5 or 10 minutes. So you can continue to ask some questions or you can communicate with each other. But with your freedom, I don't know. Well, I have no idea. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I do know that I probably have a little bit more freedom, but I have seen some psychiatrists saying a lot of different things on YouTube. So, but I always wanted to be a psychiatrist. It didn't happen. So here we are doing the best I can to educate you all and share my knowledge and experience with the world. Goodbye. I'll see you on Sunday, 2 days from now, November 5th, when we are thrust into darkness here in America. But hey, keep on keeping on. That's what I say.